the end of the day, I feel like.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. That'd be great.
Yes.
It should be, yes.
Yes. Yep.
Yes, definitely. Yes. I think there should be 0.
I mean, yeah, you have to aim high, I would say.
It should be 0.
That should definitely be the goal. I absolutely agree. Yes, that should be the goal.
informational briefing on the update of the City of Sparks master plan before the public hearing items.
Do we want to do that with just 4 people here?
We'll talk to them again later.
Okay.
Buy some time.
Do that, Mitch.
Okay, cool. We'll do that at the approval of the agenda time.
Yep.
Okay. Call to order the Sparks Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, August 6th. It is 6:06 p.m. and we'd like roll call.
Commissioner Fewens?
Here.
Commissioner Cameroda? Absent. Commissioner Ween?
Here.
Commissioner Noakey?
Here.
Commissioner Peterson?
Here.
Commissioner Bowles? Absent. Commissioner Sperber? Absent. Assistant City Attorney Doug Thornley?
Here.
City Planner Armando Arnaud?
Here.
All right, now it's time for public comment. This item is for the public comment on any action item or for general public comment and is limited to no more than 3 minutes. Anybody like to speak? Is there any things turned in to the clerk? No. Okay. So we'll close public comment. And we'll move to the approval of the agenda. We would, if we could have a motion also from the commissioners to move under general business informational items, if we could please move that up in the agenda to right after informational items and before the public comment.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Second. Okay, we have first and second to move the agenda under the number 9 informational briefing to move up to after number 7. So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we'll move that. And so if we can get a, just now an approval of that amended agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, we have first and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. And now we'll need approval of the minutes from the July 16th meeting.
Move to approve as submitted.
I'll second.
We have a motion, and I will abstain from that, for I was not at that meeting. So we have a motion and a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will abstain. Thank you. All right, so announcements and committee reports.
We have none.
Okay, any informational items?
Yes, back in June at the June Planning Commission meeting, this body, the Sparks Planning Commission, forwarded a recommendation of approval for the amendments to Title 20 to the zoning code. This is the comprehensive update of the zoning code that the City of Sparks Planning Division has been working on for well over 2 years. The first reading of that that ordinance to amend the zoning code is to be considered or to be read into the record on August 10th by the clerk at the City Council meeting. Originally, we had anticipated that the second reading would be held on, and the public hearing would be held on August 24th. We are looking to move that out further. As you recall, there was a proposed amendment that would address the issue of feral cat colonies. It's become that particular amendment has generated a lot of interest. The mayor and the manager's offices are looking for full attendance on the part of the city council for this public hearing when the zoning code amendments are to be considered. So right now, that's anticipated to occur most likely on October the 12th. So that's when the city council, at this juncture, is anticipated to take up the zoning code and conduct their second reading of the ordinance and the public hearing for it. And that includes the recommendation on the feral cat colony issue.
Thank you, Armando. So now we'll move on to the general business informational briefing on the update of the City of Sparks Master Plan.
Come around and join
All right.
Karen.
I had to recount the program while we were sitting here. Thank goodness. So Amanda and I wanted to tonight give you an update on where we're at on the comprehensive plan. So just to give you a brief background, the Nevada Revised Statutes refers to it as a master plan. And under the current, the master plan in the law is divided by what's required by the population. And if you're on populations of between 100,000 and 700,000, then you have to have a conservation plan, a housing element, a population, a plan, and a utilities plan. Other elements that would be required, or that can be included in your master plan, are a conservation element, a historic preservation element, a housing element, a land use element, public facilities, service element, recreation and open space, safety element, and transportation element. Currently, our master plan is made up of all of these items that I have listed there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different elements in our master plan. And you can see, I'm not going to read them all off, you can see that there have been different dates, like the Northern Sparks Sphere of Influence was approved or adopted in 1991. We've got several done in the 90s and then some in the early 2000s and 2000. I think the most recent would be the Comprehensive Parks and Recreation Plan was done in November of 2013. That's our most current element, but most of them are several decades old, and that's why we're looking at doing a new plan. As an interchange of words, it's also known as a master plan. Sometimes people call it a general plan, and also comprehensive plan. And what we're doing is we want to call ours a comprehensive plan because we want to make it more comprehensive. The American Planning Association defines a master plan as a comprehensive long-range plan intended to guide growth and development of a community or region, and on that includes analysis, recommendation, proposals for the community's population, economy, housing, transportation, community facilities, and land use. A lot of times people, when they say master plan, only think of land use element. And what we want to do with ours is be more comprehensive. That's why we're calling it a comprehensive plan. We want to include more things. So right now, our master plan is a bunch of different individual elements. And like I said, most of them are almost 2 decades old. So we want to update all of that into one plan. What I'm showing here on this slide is a comparison of our existing master plan and what we want to do in our comp plan. Right now, we're separate topics. Each element's a separate topic and not interrelating. And really, like land use is related to streets. And so what we want to do is integrate in our comprehensive plan, integrate all the elements together and not have a separate transportation element, a separate land use element. We want to be able to do this. For an example, unify the streets with maintenance requirements and goals and design standards and also the usage, and then also associate them with land use. Then we would also have goals and policies that would relate to all over the entire city services and administration. On this slide, what I was showing is that the left side are what our city services are: the police, fire, public works, maintenance. So that includes our sewer lines, our storm drain lines, the operation of the sewer treatment plant. Then we've also got utilities and all our facilities, including the buildings, like this building, Alf Sorensen, Johnson Community Center, all those different facilities, and then also all of our parks, and then all our recreational facilities, programs that we offer. That would be included under the city services. And then administration would be conservation, environmental issues, vehicular movement, pedestrian movement, bicycle movement, looking at land use patterns, housing needs, the community's resilience, and then economic vitality would be what we'd be looking under for the administrative. The goals that we're looking at, our broad goals for this comprehensive plan, is that we want to make this plan a plan that's user-friendly document. It's not intimidating. Right now, it's kind of intimidating. You pick up all these separate documents, and there's a lot of background data in there, and it's a lot of information, and it's pretty intimidating for anybody to pick up. So we want to make this a more graphic kind of a document. Still have the basic information in there and background information, but make it more graphic and a little more user-friendly so people aren't so intimidated. Because we want to have this as a guide of how and where Sparks should grow. It'll establish goals and policies that address specific issues on a citywide topics, and the overall plan for the city, which guides the provisions of services and infrastructure needs. Again, this would be a citywide document establishing the vision for the future of the city, making the city a place where people want to live, work, and play. We want to give you some examples of applicable examples that relate to land use and master planning kind of issues. And so we've got 4 examples here.
So going back to the premise that, at its heart, the comprehensive plan or the master plan should be a document that guides how and where the city should grow. And, by extension, where we provide services and how we provide services. We thought we'd give you these examples of how, land use decisions in particular have a bearing on everything the city does. So those of you who have been on the Planning Commission for a while will recall that a few years ago we had, it was in our sphere of influence, the East Truckee River Canyon, where the Apple data center is, for example, and some of those surrounding lands was in our sphere of influence, and then in fact the city took the step of annexing some of that land. And it was to some extent a developer-driven decision that got us there. But before we took it any further, the city commissioned an analysis of what developing those lands out there within the jurisdiction of the city Sparks would necessitate in terms of the provision of services, and in particular the cost of providing those services. So we looked at if that portion of the canyon is within the city of Sparks, we would have to provide police and fire service in particular. It was an area that was removed from the existing corporate boundaries, so it would require a new fire station out there, and also because of the distance. It would require providing police patrols. It would require, even if the developer paid for the costs of installing the streets and roads and utilities, it would require the city of Sparks to maintain those facilities and that infrastructure. So we took into account those costs, and we compared those costs to a couple of different land use and development scenarios, and really tried to get at the question of, does it make sense is this a logical extension of the city of Sparks, right? And really what the studies that we commissioned at the time concluded was that it would cost us more in terms of service provision than we would ever see in additional revenues. And so the city council essentially made the decision that no, it was not a logical extension of the city of Sparks. And so we actually detached is the term for when you unannex something, that portion that we had already taken in, and we removed that area from the sphere, and now it's served through Washoe County. So that's an example of all those other services really being tied to land use and having fiscal implications for the city of Sparks. And so again, with good planning, ideally, we make better decisions about those sorts of things. The second bullet under here, the fire services in really the southwest portion of the Truckee Meadows, arguably the conflict between the city of Reno and Washoe County with regard to the provision of fire services in the southwest portion of the Truckee Meadows has its roots in land use decisions, right? If you have a standard that you're going to be able to respond to fires within 6 minutes or 7 minutes or 8 minutes, whatever, that means you have to have basically a fire station within that distance of every home in that area. And really what you have is fairly low densities And so the tax generation is lower on a per acre basis. And so that impairs the ability, that impairs the revenue side of the equation. And so, logically, it takes more fire stations to serve the same number of houses than if you had more compact, more dense development. And then now, of course, in that part of the Turkey Meadows, you also have you have topography, right? You have, ridges and, et cetera, drainages, and it's, it's a hilly area. And so, again, it's an example where maybe if the land use planning had been done differently, and had taken into account the services side of things, the service considerations, we wouldn't have some of those conflicts now. In the northeast part of Sparks, we have the Kylie Ranch North Plan Development. It is essentially the largest single remaining area of undeveloped land within the city of Sparks. There's still, approximately 600 acres that are undeveloped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A very substantial portion of that is designated for business park types of uses. The basis for that decision was that Sparks could not continue to be solely a residential community, a bedroom community, and so I think we are going to be revisiting those issues because I think there's going to be interest on the part of the development community at converting some of that acreage that's designated for business park uses to residential uses. Whether that makes sense or not is something that we should look at, and it's a sort of question that we should be looking at through the update of the comprehensive plan. And then finally, I think in terms of infrastructure and emergency management practices, I think we need to take into account the possibility that droughts may be more frequent, that potentially flooding is we have different patterns in terms of flooding. If you have with the potentially changing climate. So we need to be able to be resilient as a community, and so to anticipate those sorts of issues as we plan our facilities and our infrastructure. So these just are some examples that we wanted to sort of highlight for you in terms of the sorts of things that we want to be thinking about in terms of our update of the comprehensive plan, so that it's truly better integrated in terms of how we look at the community and what we do as a municipality. So.
The next item that we wanted to briefly give you is what the process is going to be. As a staff, what we've decided is the City Council has set some money aside, and so what we've decided is to put that money towards hiring a firm to facilitate the public outreach portion of the comprehensive plan, and then staff will be writing the comp plan document itself based on that public output. So our first step here is we're in the process of going through our request for proposal process to hire a consultant for the public reach out portion. So we're on this first step right now. Once we do that, we will work on coordinating what you would be looking for in this comprehensive plan and what you would hope to get out of the public outreach. So we'll be coming back to you on that. So that'll be our next step, is coordinating with the Planning Commission and City Council, and then we will start the public outreach process. We want to do the public outreach is more than just having community meetings. We want to also do some kind of multimedia and include internet comments, Facebook or texting or some. That's why we want to hire a firm, somebody that has a lot more experience on how to do all that modern technology stuff than we do have. The next step would be then to gather data, get some background information, what's the population trends, the housing trends, different basic information that can be presented in the initial public outreach process. And as part of that, we'd be then preparing a basic outline for the comp plan. Then we would start working on writing a draft vision for the plan and the goals and policies. And this would be all input from the public input process and the different steps. The public input, we're going to be involving numerous workshops and numerous like surveys on the internet, that kind of different. We're not sure exactly at this point, but that's what we'd be looking at. So then we would work on writing the draft comp plan and work in the final, and then that would also come back to Planning Commission and City Council. And what we see as the steps along, or the points that you guys will be involved with, is first of all reviewing the format of the document. You know, giving us your feedback on what you think your vision is for this document. And then also, as we start gathering the data, we would like to come back and give you what we're finding out from the public input and some of our data gathering that we're getting. And then we would also bring back the draft comp plan to get you some input, and then obviously we'd have to bring back the final plan for your review and recommendation and adoption. So that pretty much wraps up.
Yep. I mean, the master plan or the comprehensive plan is by Nevada statute essentially the responsibility of the Planning Commission. Whereas with the zoning code, which is essentially, the municipal code and it's adopted by ordinance, the Planning Commission is a recommending body to the City Council. With the master plan or comp plan, it's the Planning Commission who really does the adoption of the plan, and then, in a sense, the City Council ratifies your decision, if you will. So you should expect that we will be adding updates to almost every meeting, and that we will be soliciting your input on a regular basis as we go through this to get to the point where, when you nothing in it is surprising. In fact, you've had a lot of input all the way through. So,
Karen, you said that the master plan, the comprehensive plans are dependent on the population, on how things worked at the beginning. What's that population? Is that off the census? Is it where do you get those numbers for the population? Because you said it I think got up to 100 to 700,000 people that at the beginning of your slides.
I never had the population in any.
No, you didn't have a slide, but it was. I don't know what the city of Sparks.
Oh, that's based in that's the NRS statute.
NRS statute. So.
And they've upped that to 700,000. That's what you have to have under the NRS. You have to have those. Was it 4? I think you have to have those 4.
So are you going to base that off 2010 census? Where does that come? 2020 census?
Probably up to 2030, 2035 census.
Yeah,
it goes up to.
Well, that's one of the items that we would want some input on, what we want as a horizon for the plan.
Okay.
So
I don't think we're at 100,000 yet. I mean,
but it's in the county.
It's the county's population.
Okay. Oh, it's a county. It's not city. Okay.
It's the way we differentiate laws as they apply to the South.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we're at 463,000 or something like that, isn't it, Armando?
Okay.
For the county?
I got you.
yes. So in a nutshell, we only have to have those 4 elements.
Yeah.
Whether we choose to include additional ones is up to.
Yeah.
And that number is fluid, right? So those 4 elements are unlikely to change as they apply to us. If the census gets out of whack or the region grows substantially, the legislature just moved that number.
They have.
Okay.
Years ago, the top number used to be 400,000, and several sessions ago, they bumped it up to 700,000. But it used to be, I remember it being 400,000.
But if it's county,
It's the county population,
okay.
not city population.
And
I'm
then-
sorry, I misunderstood your question.
Yeah, just one thing I would like to definitely see, the paper said, just reading the paper, that the city of Sparks and Reno itself didn't have a drought plan, for this drought. That was kind of a big, I'd like to definitely see, and Armando mention that. And I've had a couple people ask me that, hey, what's your guys' drought plan? And I don't know if we have one. I think that'd be a great thing to enter in there for the natural disaster. So glad to see they're going that direction.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Karen and Armando, do you anticipate this comprehensive plan would be ready by 2017 for the regional plan update?
What we've been directed through the strategic plan for the city of Sparks manager's office, he wants to have us have this comp plan to be completed by the summer of 2016. So we've got a lot of work to do in this next year.
Yeah, okay.
So it would be done before they start the regional plan update, is the goal.
Mitch.
Karen, do the RFPs, are they out now, or are you just writing the guidelines for it?
No, we've actually had the submittal, and we've been reviewing them, and we've done a selection of who we're going to be interviewing later this month.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, guys. Okay, now we're going to move to public hearing items. PCN 15029, which is a master plan amendment, and we have to have five planning commissioners here, and I count 4. So this is probably, do we need to table this?
Well, I suppose that's an interesting question. Will there be 5 at the next regularly scheduled meeting? Do we know? I mean, you could just continue it, I suppose, but
If we table it, then we have to take it off the table.
Right.
If we continue it, but then you have
Okay.
to continue it to a specific date.
right.
Okay, so we would just need to continue it.
Otherwise, it becomes a technical denial, right? Is that correct?
Yeah,
By the law?
although-
If we don't have the 5 votes, it becomes a technical denial?
Well,
And we can't make a recommendation on the zone change without the approval of the master plan.
right. I mean, I think there might be an issue in terms of time, where it would actually, if you don't deal with it, it would be technically approved. But
I don't think there is that in the NRS.
is there not?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think that, it's not like a special use permit or tentative map has 60
sure.
days.
Okay.
Do you remember, Ken?
Yeah, I believe there is.
All
You
right.
don't think there is?
Fine thing.
I don't think there is.
I just continue it to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Do we know when that meeting is?
Yeah.
It would be September 3rd?
Well, I mean, the question is, do you guys want to try to go to the 20th? And my question to Doug was, do I have to renotice this? Because I am right up against a wall if I have to renotice it.
Well, if it's continued, do we have to renotice? I thought we didn't have to renotice if it's a continuation.
I mean, in this instance, I think probably renoticing is, I mean, we didn't have a hearing and then continue it because somebody wanted to think about it. It's, we don't have enough people. We
Yeah.
can't do anything with it.
It's,
Should we just make a motion until the next meeting then?
do you want to talk?
Sure, if I could.
This is the applicant's representative.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Ken Crater, and I just went through this on another issue, and we did a little research, and as long as it was continued to a specific time and date, we weren't required to renotice under the Nevada revised statutes. And we would agree to a continuance because we certainly don't want to go to the city council with a technical denial. We'd like this case to be heard. But the other thing that was important on that is the public hearing had to be opened in order to not have to renotice the property. So as long as the public hearing was opened and it's continued to a specific time and date, the statute said that it wasn't required to be renoticed. So.
Okay, but you do have to have a specific time and date, or date anyway.
Yes.
You have to
Okay,
do that
Ken.
to continue it properly.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Mr. Crater, Mr. Crater, how would you feel about if this was continued to September 3rd?
That would be great because then we might even be able to make regional planning still in September on the 9th. So.
Yeah, I mean, we could potentially, do a meeting on the third Thursday of the month, which would be in this case on August 20th. But I think we have at least one planning commission member who I think would still be gone. So without having polled them in terms of their availability, I feel more comfortable with scheduling this or continuing to September 3rd.
And we're absolutely fine with that date.
Okay.
You need a motion.
Well, you need to open the public hearing.
So this is a public hearing item on PCN 15029. So I'll open it up for the public, see if they would like to talk about it. Seeing none, are there any cards turned in? No cards turned in, so seeing no, so we'll close the public comment and bring it back for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to continue item PCN 15029 until our September 3rd, 2015 meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any discussion? So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, passes. We'll continue it. So we'll move on to item number 10, public comment. Is anybody from the public here that would like to discuss anything that was on the agenda? So seeing none, move it to comments from the commissioners. You guys have anything to comment about? All right. If not, I'll ask for an adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Everybody have a good evening.